Hi everybody, and welcome to this, the second in the series of videos all about the AAT Synoptic Practice Tests. In this video I'm going to show you how to how to study the scenario and also part A of the task itself. So the first thing you need to be doing now is to study the scenario very carefully as it runs right the way through the task. So I'm going to switch to the file we downloaded in video 1, and you can see part A, which is what this video is mostly about, is way down here. You've got to study this scenario because it does run right the way through the task, and it's all about a company called BL&M & Co. that make sinks. So pause the video there and just take a few moments to very carefully study the scenario, and then we'll come back. Okay, so hopefully you've studied the scenario there and you're very familiar with BL&M & Co. and what they do. And the next thing it tells you to do in instructions is to save the spreadsheet file in an appropriate location and rename it using the following format. And you must name your file according to this format, which is your initial and surname, hyphen your AAT number, hyphen the date, and then task 2.1. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So here I am back in the spreadsheet that I opened in the previous video, and I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to switch to the folder where I save all my AAT stuff, and you see the name that I've given it here, which is of the format that is required, and then I'm going to save that. Okay, with the spreadsheet carefully saved, and then going on to the next part of the task, which is just a reminder that a high degree of accuracy is required in this task. And you must also save your work as a .xls or .xlsx file, which we've already done. And regular intervals also save that file to avoid losing any work. So we're actually finally ready to do some work on the spreadsheet now. And part A is this. In the worksheet called Invoices, use a lookup function on the item number data to calculate the net sales using information from the price list worksheet. And that's for 2 marks. It sounds quite complicated, but actually it isn't. We'll go back to the spreadsheet now, and I'm going to navigate from the instructions sheet to the invoices sheet. So remember, what we're doing in part A here is, in the worksheet called Invoices, use a lookup function on the item number data to calculate the net sales using information from the price list worksheet. Again, that sounds like a lot, but actually it isn't really. What we're going to do is, starting with the first item here, which is a one bowl and drainer type sink with the item number 35698, in its net sales cell here, which is currently empty, we're going to use a VLOOKUP function to look for the item number in the price list sheet, which is here as a separate sheet, and when it finds it, to display its price in the net sales column for that item. So before we even think about what function is actually going to do that, what it does actually sort of manually is it looks for that item number in this price list, and when it finds it, and it's actually there, you can see, it looks for the price of that item, and that is what is displayed in the net sales cell. So it kind of does a little trip into the price list sheet here and looks for the item number, finds the corresponding price, and then that's what it actually puts in the net sales cell. Now, that's not quite everything we need to do in that cell, because all that we'll find will be the price of the item. Net sales then will only be found by multiplying that price by the number sold, because obviously the amount you make from something is the number you sell times the price. So it will be a relatively complicated formula, this, but easier than it will look. So I'm going to go ahead and start off then by starting off as always with equals in any formula, and then VLOOKUP and opening the bracket. Now the first thing that we do in a VLOOKUP function, the first what they call the first argument in the function, is the thing that we want the VLOOKUP function to look for, and it's the item number, which for this item is in C7. That's just telling it what to go and look for. So a comma then tells it that we've finished that part of the formula. Now this is where we have to switch to price list, because we've told it what to go looking for, but not where to go looking for it. So we then switch to the price list. You can see in the formula then it's starting to build up. It's saying, that part of the formula is saying that we're now looking for something in the price list sheet. And what we do then is we highlight the entire price list. The reason for that is that for this first item, it's only going to go looking this far down, but for other items, it will need to have access to the entire price list. So right from the off, we select the entire price list there. So at this point, you can see in the formula, what we've specified is what to look for and where to look for it. So we need another comma in there. The next part of the VLOOKUP function is telling the Excel spreadsheet how far along the price list to go to find the price. It's found the item, it'll go down just to the second or third row on the price list here. And once it's found that item number, which we specified at this point in the formula with the C7, we then need to tell it how far along to go to find the price. Now, we've just specified where to go looking. And you can see that up here, A4 to D12 in the price list sheet here. And then what we tell it then is we tell it which column in the table to look for the price. And that includes the item number column. So this is column 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4. So it's the fourth column of the table that we've just specified where it'll find the price. So 4 goes in there. Then another comma, and the final part of the VLOOKUP formula, the final part of the VLOOKUP function just takes the form of either a true or false part to the function. That just tells the function whether to look for an exact match. When it goes looking for whatever is in C7, when it goes looking for it in the price list table, whether to look for an exact match or part match. Now, we must tell it to look for an exact match. Otherwise, if it's, for example, for the first item there, which was item number 35698, if we tell it to look for a not exact match, it might look for any items with a 3 in, for a 5, with a 5 in, with a 6 in, with it, etc. So quite simply just put false then, you don't need to worry about it. Like so. So I click enter to tell it I've finished the formula, and it, because this formula originally started in the invoices sheet, it's flipped back to that, and you can see it's correctly put the price for that item, which is item number 35698, the price as 127, which you can see that it is. So that's working. It's working okay so far, but as I said earlier, that's not actually net sales, that's just the price of that item. To get net sales, we have to add one more thing to the formula, and that is we need to multiply that price by the number sold. So I'm going to go back into the formula and just go to the end of it and just add a section of the formula just to multiply by the number sold, which for this item is in D7. And hit enter, and now that is the net sales figure for this item. Now at this point we should just be able to autofill that down. But you'll see, for reasons we'll come to in a second, that doesn't quite work. We get a lot of not applicable, not allowed type errors from the fourth item down. Now the reason for that we can see if we look at the formula that we've created. And actually I'm going to bring those formulas back. I click on the first formula. We know that's correct, it's working well. But I'm going to go down this column with my down arrow key on the keyboard here. And you can see if you look at the formula as I go down with the arrow key, keep an eye on the formula here and see what actually happens as I go down to the items that have been created by the autofill handle. Now, you see C7 in the current formula. That quite rightly changes to C8, C9, etc. That's what we want to happen so that we're looking at a different item number each time. And the D7 part of the formula changes to D8, D9 because we want to be multiplying by a different set of sold figures for each item. But what's also changing as we go down is this part of the formula here, where it's looking, this part of the formula right here, where it's looking on the other sheet for the price list table. Now that also changes as you go down. Can you see it? It should be looking at A4 to D12 every time. But because of the way the autofill handle works, it's looking for A4 to D12 for the first item, but for the second item it's looking at A5 to D13. And so on, and then A7 to D15 and so on. What it's effectively doing as we go down these auto-filled values, it's looking, for the first item it's looking at that price list, for the second item it's looking at that set of prices, for the third item it's looking at those, and eventually what actually happens is it's looking at a blank load of cells. Now, there's an easy way to fix that, and it's called absolute cell referencing. So I'm going to delete all of those. And all we do is to tell it not to change these values as we go down the column, as we autofill. You use the dollar sign. So I put $1 in front of the A, $1 in front of the 4 there. So it's always going to say A4 as we go down there when we autofill. Also $1 in front of the D, $1 in front of the 12 as well. So the D12 will be what it looks at when we autofill. Press enter. When we autofill now, you can see straight away we get, we don't get any of those not applicables anymore, those not allowed figures. And again, if I do the same thing now, keep your eye on the formula up here as I go down with my arrow key on the keyboard. And now, can you see what the difference there? The A4 to D12 is not changing as you go down. C7 is changing to C8, C9, C10 as it should. The D7 there, which is the number sold, is changing D7, D8, D9, and so on. Let me just try that again. There we go. But the part of the formula that deals with where to go looking for that item number stays the same every single time, and it stays with A4 to D12. And that's called absolute cell referencing. The opposite of that, which is what it's called relative cell referencing, and that was what we had before we put the dollar signs in. So that formula is working really well. The only thing left for us to do is autofill that all the way down, and this first task, part A, will be complete. So I'm going to autofill it all the way down. Quite a big data set this, so it takes a little while, but there it is. So that's it for this video. Part 2 in the series, this one covering scenario and how to do part A. As with all the videos in this series, if you're not sure about anything, you can have another look at it. You can rewind, fast forward and pause and have a go until you've really got it. So I hope you found this useful and you feel confident to have a go yourself. And I'll see you on the next video.